Well,
I'm glad that we're
honestly, like
here.
the book has been it's been eye-opening. I honestly wasn't expecting it to be. By the way, this is the book. That's not the book. That's my
Entitled.
screensaver. Entitled
Mm-hmm.
by Andrew Loney. It's a big deal in the UK. Did you also see that this is the book. Did you also
Yes.
see that the publisher had originally published a version where they claim that Epstein knew Melania first, but
Mm-hmm.
that is not being published. There's
Well,
60,000 copies in the UK that say that. No more though.
here's the thing I
And
was
it's out of the
wondering
digital versions.
on that point, because Betches is in the UK now. Have
Mhm.
you noticed like that American news is so vastly different from European news when it comes to the Epstein stuff or other things? Because I know in Europe they're
No.
much more strict on like being anti-pedophilia and stuff than here where people are like making excuses and hiding shit.
So from what I've heard, this book is like big. It's
Big
really
over there.
outraging people because
Mm,
I mean, and that's actually what I want to talk about here, which is that this is really about so much more than like a duke's misbehaviors. This
right.
is really about like national security, the downfall of the West. Like
Mm,
these people became liabilities.
mm-hmm,
He was a liability to the country.
mm.
And in this book, it says that that Epstein sold compromat on Andrew to at least the Mossad, the Saudis, and the Gaddafi's regime.
He had to also sell it to his number one investor, Les Wexner, because Andrew's fucking wife, Sarah Ferguson, became like queen of the malls in the late 90s, early 2000s. And of course, Les was like, owned
Oh
all the
yeah,
stores in the mall.
I mean, she was, the
She
OG
got her own
influencer.
problem.
She would
Yeah.
push this is the thing. Like, it's so gender coded too, because they're very similar to each other, just like endlessly consumptive. Like, there's no amount that could satisfy them. At
Hmm.
one point, it describes that she every night would ask for like a full side of a full side of beef, a big leg of lamb, a full chicken every single night for dinner. And then for her and the
Not eat it.
girls, and they wouldn't eat it. It would just all go to waste. And like she constantly was like, I'm broke. I'm broke. It's like, yeah, because you have a staff of 20 and
Uh-huh.
like you just kind of do whatever you want. But for her, I will say, like, people do seem to attest that she was like genuinely caring, kind of had like a gift with the disabled. And when she would
Hmm.
go to, place it, go do those like charity things that she was ultimately exploiting, she genuinely made a positive impact there.
Mm.
Whereas like Andrew's just a dick. He made every situation worse. He made people around him just feel like just like shit. Like his
Hmm.
whole gag was like making people feel terribly. Like he would go to a dinner and he'd like take the pate and he'd be like, this pate smells funny. And someone would smell it and he would put it in their face at like age 40.
These people are so
Psychotic.
unevolved, right? And they, of course, always hang out with each other. That's exactly something Donald Trump would do. I heard Andrew fired somebody for wearing a nylon tie one time. He didn't
Yes.
like a
For having
mole
a
on some
mole.
guy's face. Yeah, so then
Yeah.
he fired him. Like, that's very Trumpian. But
They
yeah,
fire.
Andrew,
Oh, they are all cut from the same cloth. Like
yeah.
at one point, what it says of Sarah is that she's very very heavily influenced by the last person she spoke to, which
Mm,
that's Donald Trump. Like everyone says that
exactly.
about him. Here's what I was going to say to you. You were right about something that I was.
I love when I'm right. Tell me
You
about
were
it.
right. So political dynasties, I think they're ultimately like incompatible
Yeah.
uh with democracy, with like
Hmm.
an open society. Like, not that it's not about the people. It's about the fact of dynasty
Yeah.
and the ambition of it and the
Hmm.
liability that you have when you just have like one person who's or multiple people, because it spreads, because it's people are incentivized to act like the biggest asshole because that's who's going to like win
Hmm.
if there's no like accountability for being a dick.
Hmm.
What I think really happens is like he just like it degrades, it puts because they had to keep protecting Andrew.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to protect your dynasty and you aren't putting like fidelity to the country at the top,
Hmm.
you basically make yourself vulnerable. And
Mhm.
I think that this is the biggest thing, is that like everyone wants to feel like, oh, this is separate from the dictator stuff, Abrego Garcia or taking over DC or the court system or Harvard or whatever. People want to see that as separate, and also separate from like the Russia Ukraine national security
All the
piece of it
same.
all. It
Mhm.
is actually all the same. And the reason that I don't know if we'll ever see these documents from the US government in the near future is because it's really a national security thing. And these people endangered the national security
Mhm.
of Epstein, Trump, and Andrew were all like in a trio.
Mhm.
Um, Epstein said that Andrew was his best friend, which I think is interesting because he said, I'm Donald's best friend.
Mhm.
So,
Best friend has a interesting connotation for these type of people too, because they're not actually capable of true, genuine friendship, which requires vulnerability and sacrifice. So they're like, I'm best friends, and like I can get a lot off this person, or can they get a lot off me? And that's why I think
yeah,
Epstein says I was Trump's best friend, because Epstein thinks Trump got a lot off me, but Andrew's my best friend because I get a lot off Andrew.
yes,
And that's the way I kind of line it up for
that is
them.
that is exactly it, because it
Yep.
even says, and I'm gonna try to look for play. He knew how to play Epstein knew how to play, Andrew. He also,
Yeah.
like, cheated at golf openly like Trump did. Like, there's so many, like, specific they all do the same thing. Like, they all have appetites for just, like, endless, insatiable appetites
Consumption.
for young girls. Like, it's
Yep.
sex addictions, like, money issues, like, constantly just, like, taking in and out and spending more money than, like, is just, like, it's not normal.
It's
Yeah.
gratuitous and weird. Now, in the book, it says that Andrew lost his virginity when he was like 11 years old. He would brag about losing his virginity at 11, which is actually
Yes.
probably more aligned with a sex crime or trauma than any kind of like good thing.
Yes.
And I've never really thought about when Donald Trump would have become sexually active, but I wonder if there's some sort of like comparison there where like people who experience sex too young end up having like a really disordered relationship with it throughout the rest of their life, or they continue to seek that youthful experience. It's like, how like people who get beat as a kid sometimes beat their kids. I mean, granted, now we've learned it, but it's like, oh, it happened to me and I'm fine. And so it's going to happen to you because that normalizes it somehow. I wonder if there's some sort of tie to that too. I don't know if he's ever talked about it.
So I don't think it's necessarily about, like, the necessarily has to be about I don't know, I'm obviously not an expert in this, but, my sense is that it's not about the age, but about, like, the consensual and, like, readiness that the
Right,
person had when it happened. So
right.
Andrew, it said he had his first sexual experience at 8. And at 11, his friend's dad took them to, like,
Uh,
uh, to
something.
be to, an escort, and that was how he lost his virginity. So it's like he didn't choose. Like,
No.
it's more about the fact that it's like he didn't this wasn't a natural thing that he had a girlfriend and they, like, did something, which I
Right.
think that might have
Again, in some form of love, even too young or whatever. Like there was some
whatever,
sort of
relation
displacement of power
consensual,
here. There was a
age
displacement of power.
appropriate
Right.
age appropriate.
Yep.
And, like, it said that I think it said he had had, like, 6 partner like, he had had sex with 6 people after, like, by the time he was 12, or like, he had slept with, like, 1,000 plus people, and he just couldn't even Jeffrey Epstein thought Andrew
Had a
was too
lot.
kinky.
Right.
Yeah,
Trump,
but this
I
is
I just looked it up. Apparently, Trump brags about having lost his virginity to a hot little girl when he was 14 years old at summer camp. That's what he
I
says.
mean, that
That's still a
that
fucking gross way to talk about it.
it's a
That's
gross way to talk about it, but that sounds, like,
something else.
plausible.
Sure.
It's plausible. I mean, that sounds relatively normal, but, okay,
People are
your
like, how
point
old
about
was he? Was the girl 14 and he was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, wait, I wanna go back to your point about who got more off the other.
Right.
This is exactly what it said. It is clear how Epstein played Andrew. The prince was a useful idiot who gave him respectability and access to political leaders and business opportunities.
Mhm.
What drew Andrew to Epstein? An opportunity to join the super rich and a lifestyle to which the duke had long aspired, a supply of available women, a chance to make money himself, and someone who would bankroll his life as well as settle his ex-wife's debts. Epstein paid off, like, all of her debts.
Fergie's debts. Yeah.
Yeah. which
Using Les Wexner's money, no less, I'm sure. Yeah.
using, but all they just had money flowing. Like
Yeah.
it just, both men, ostensible friends, used each other, but it was an unequal relationship. According to one of Prince Andrew's friends, Epstein to Andrew was like putting a rattlesnake in an aquarium with a mouse.
Mm,
Accurate. Because
yeah.
Andrew was like not normal. Like he was just
None
not
of the
normal.
royals are. They're all
They're
freak.
not normal.
We're all freaks.
And
It's a
that's what I
freak
was,
thing to be born into. That's why I
yeah,
say no political dynasties, and why I say, respect for the Clinton family for what they've done for this country in many ways, but I would never vote for Chelsea Clinton. I don't care if she was the best candidate because I can't continue that. I don't get down with the Jack Schlossberg stuff. Love Jack. He's a very funny guy, but like I wouldn't vote for him because I don't want a Kennedy dynasty. The Kennedys have already had too much power. When you have those kind of dynasties, even the dynasties that Nancy Pelosi built, which are not familial dynasties, but where she king makes certain candidates and carries them along, that's
yeah,
still a dynasty, and it causes so many issues because you inherit not just that person's donor list and their power, which gives you a leg up, but you inherit their grudges. You inherit the people they owe things to, and it just makes it last too long. It goes on and on.
right. It becomes about being loyal to the dynasty
Yep,
and not the
to the
country or the
country.
system or the ethics of it. And I don't think it's an accident that you also have Donald Trump raiding John Bolton's
Right.
house when
Going after
the
Chris Christie now, maybe, and yeah, doing all this.
right. And
Old
it's
grudges.
old grudges with close old alignments, which I think
Right.
is that's like the real thing because it's like,
His
okay, well,
former
if you don't.
nobility class. Yeah, the people he thinks he made that turned on him.
Right.
Hmm.
And I think that's how we know. And I just made a video about this that I'm have to finish editing that will go, whatever, just preview everybody. Basically, where I'm talking about this, where it's like that has really put us in danger.
Yeah.
That these people with these insatiable appetites who are so easy to blackmail
Hmm.
and to flatter,
Hmm.
they were out there representing the country while taking in things for their own benefit. And that made us vulnerable to
Hmm.
the information war, this hybrid warfare that we've been in.
Hmm.
And it's really just like, wow, you guys are such fucking morons. And like, but you also have to blame the system that didn't punish them.
Right. Well, it was still protecting them. I mean, if you look at the Epstein files, the Epstein thing has been a thing since like 2003, 2004, if we're being honest, to the first time he really got caught out. Now, why in the last 10 years, even, let's say, hasn't it come out? Hasn't more come out? Until now, when the person who's in charge of the oversight committee for the Democrats is a millennial, right? He's young. He couldn't have been in the Epstein
I
files.
mean,
Summer Lee can't be in the Epstein files. So these people have a little bit more energy, I think, towards getting it because they know they're not in it or connected to it than
yeah,
people previously were. It was either, well, Bill Clinton's going to be in there too, so let's move it along, or Trump's going to be in there, or this one or that one, or these different millionaires who make the world run around, and Leo and Les Wexner and Elizabeth Johnson of Johnson and Johnson was a funder of Epstein. I'm not saying she went to the island or
yeah.
touched any kids or anything, but he managed some of her money. And so whether I don't, when Donald Trump says we need to look at the files so some people who shouldn't get in trouble don't get in trouble, he's obviously trying to self-preserve and like he thinks that certain people who did weird
Well,
sex shit shouldn't get in trouble. But there are people in here that were manipulated by Epstein. They're stupid rich people, right? Look what Bernie Madoff got away with all those rich people too. Rich people are not smart. They're just rich.
yeah,
And some of those folks' money is going to be in there, and then they're going to be like, oh, well, Elizabeth Johnson, Johnson and Johnson, and that whole brand is like, we don't want this shit out there. And again,
exactly.
she probably didn't do anything bad other than give Epstein her money before she knew who he was. But still,
Well,
it's
it was
not going to look that way.
he used the Yeah, okay, think about it this way. If every single person he has an association with
Yeah.
is like involved in this trafficking or something illegitimate, then it's easy to identify him as who he is for what he
Right.
is. He needed normal
Normal
people who
people.
were unaware or
Hmm.
just casual, like adjacent to wash
Hmm.
him, like to launder this. Like, and
Same with
that's another,
Diddy. Right. There was the white
yeah.
party and then there were the freak offs, but it was all the same night. So how are you going to say who did what? Yeah.
Right. And it's also to that point, they used modeling agencies. They use lawyers and accountants. Like the same lawyer who's doing something real for one client is doing something sketchy for Epstein's friend or Andrew's friend. Like they basically it, obviously someone has to have a connection to a non-sketchy person.
Right.
The problem is this then becomes the system will not punish any of it.
Hmm.
And once certain people can get to like a point, Andrew, Trump,
Hmm.
like they just have this ability to keep skating by. And yeah,
And then
it's
people get sick
fucked.
of it. You know what I'm thinking of now that's sort of like, I don't know, perhaps we should explore this, or maybe I should talk about it in therapy. You grew up when mall culture was a thing, right? Like for millennial, going
Yeah.
to the mall, getting dropped off at the mall, unsupervised for hours and hours and hours with your friends was a thing. Walking
Yes.
around the
Yes.
mall, unsupervised. Do you
Yes.
remember how many times there would be like a kiosk and someone would be like, you could be a model? Did
Oh,
this
well,
happen?
never happened to me, but I do know that's a
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
It would happen to it did
To
happen to
me.
me,
It did happen
but
to
it did happen to me, but
me.
I think I also just walked around the mall an awful lot, so my chances were pretty high. I also worked at the mall, so my chances were pretty high, but
I mean,
I wonder what those modeling, you know what I mean? Like this centering of the Epstein stuff and the exploitation of young women in particular, turns out they were millennial women, right? Because they were our age when this was like really going.
little
It's
older.
all millennial, elder millennial, like my age, like
Yeah.
40s into, yeah. But
Yeah.
um, it's so interconnected, and it does seem to like take root at the mall. Like there was these modeling agencies that would be like, you could be a model, and like I don't know who those people were. I'm gonna go back and look it up now because I think that'd probably be an interesting Substack. Like, was it John Bastianich or whatever that guy's name was? Modeling agencies in the mall. Les Wexner owns almost every store in the mall that was telling every single girl that she needed to be sexy and wear thongs at 13 and 14 years old. If
Mhm.
not the super, super low rise everything that he had going on. The amount of,
Abercrombie.
we used to call it baby prostitute smells, which was
Yeah.
the term we used for Bath and Body Works warm vanilla sugar, which no child should be wearing. That is a vanilla musk scent. Like,
Oh my
it
god.
was all
Yeah.
so connected, this exploitation of young women through the 90s and early 2000s, the sexualization of us. And then, of course, it's happening on this higher level where I grew up in Connecticut. So it was very normal to be like, oh, do you want to come into the city for a party or for dinner or for whatever? All through college, there was stuff like that. My own cousin had an old guy that used to hang around and be like, do you guys want a limo to the mall today? Like, whatever. Nothing happened to her.
Yeah.
She's fine. But there was
But he
always
was
like,
tried.
we
Yeah.
tried, and I remember being like, I don't know, Kristen, I don't think we should talk to that guy. And then she didn't. But there was constantly this normalization and this steady drumbeat of young girls thinking like, oh, that's just normal. Sometimes old guys just like want to hang out with us.
I think that you're right. And there was something that Ghislaine said in the transcript. Because, like, they had, what I realized is like, okay, nothing in here is going to pan out the way truth would. But
Hmm.
how are they going to get around that?
I don't know.
How is he going to ask her questions without asking her questions? And there was one part that I found to be very revealing, which was the part where she sort of she like excuses. She's trying to fudge the ages of
Mm,
like, so there's a lot of women around, and she kind of
mm,
paints it as this like cultural thing, like, oh, if
mm-hmm.
you're in that lifestyle, like, let me actually, I could find it, like, it's very
Look,
much like,
she's
oh, it's
not
part of
wrong
the
though.
lifestyle.
She
No, I
wasn't
know
wrong.
she's
It was manufactured by women like her. Okay. So when I
yeah.
was 19, 20 years old, I was waitressing in New York City and I was going to school in New York City. So you're young. And I remember every time we opened a restaurant, we used to hire models to be waitresses and hostesses so that the first like month or so of the restaurant, every single male
It's
and
full,
female,
right.
every single person in there was hot. All the tables were full with beautiful people. All the newspapers and everything were like, oh my God, it was the most beautiful crowd ever. And this
Yeah.
one's there and that one's there and this celebrity's showing up. That was a manufactured culture by the people in charge at that time, Ghislaine Maxwell or otherwise.
Well, I think yeah, yes, I think, and that she is saying that it's not false, but she kind of was like, well, there's been a cultural shift with how
Yeah.
normal it would be for there to be just like a lot of women around.
Yeah, because we grew up and we're like, they were doing creepy shit at these parties and we're not going to let it happen to the next round of girls. We
Yeah,
grew up and we're like,
that's
we now have a position of power. And no, I'm not going to ask my 17-year-old hostess if she's got a bunch of high school girlfriends who can come hang out at the restaurant today because old guys want to flirt with them. Like, we grew up and said, we're not going to allow that to happen again. That's the shift, Ghislaine.
Well, that's also, I think, why this administration wants to turn back the clock to a
The
time when
90s.
that was normal,
I
when
know
you
they are
could
trying to
have
bring it back.
child marriage,
Yep.
when,
Oh,
like,
Sharon's
Alan
here. Hi,
Dershowitz
Sharon.
said, "Oh, hey,
Yep.
Sharon." Oh, like, when you could have Alan Dershowitz being like, "Oh, like, that age is," that's what it is. They fundamentally do not, oh, hey, Keith.
Keith is
They
here. We got a
fundamentally
good
do
room.
not believe that they did anything wrong. Us
No,
asking them for accountability is, like, crazy to them, that
no, it's like when
they
you tell
shouldn't
your
just get to
mom,
do whatever they want. Yeah.
it's when you tell your boomer mom that she did something she did to you in your childhood kind of bugged you or hurt you. And she's like, well, I guess I was the worst mother ever. I guess I was the
Yes.
worst mother ever.
It's
Everything was so
very
terrible. You were so not taking
James
care.
Dobson.
It's very
Very
James Dobson.
James
It's very narcissistic sociopath. Not my mother, of course. Maureen is
No.
perfect.
Well, I was just asking my mom, who's here in the other room, if, like, if she had heard of James Dobson, and she was
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, of course. Like,
Yeah,
we,
everybody
he
did.
was on the radio."
Mhm.
And I was like, "What? Like, how do I not know about this man?" Oh, no, where'd you go?
I
Um,
like
yeah,
tried to
you're
click
back.
off a notification. I'm back.
Yeah.
No, I
And
knew
so,
about him, and I knew because my mom didn't like that let them cry it out
yeah,
situation. She's like, first of all,
try
it's
it out
annoying
is
to
so
me.
not. It is,
That's
no, it
annoying
wasn't
to
try it out. It
me,
was
and
like
I don't like
blanket,
it. Yeah.
blanket beating. It was like be
No.
your
Yeah.
15-month-old who's manipulating you with their cries so that they
Yeah.
become obedient. Like,
Nope.
yeah, that
It was
when you think
popular
about it,
though.
that
That was very
ties
common. Hmm.
and it ties into this, like, we have a
Yeah.
right to your body.
Hmm.
We have a right to, no matter how young you are, to inappropriately touch you because you need to obey us because I am above you.
I'm a god, right? Also, spanking is sex abuse, I will say. I think
You
we now have
yeah.
learned that spanking your bare-bottomed child is sex abuse. That it just is. And so there for him to be advocating for that in such graphic detail and keeping company with these types of folks. James Dobson was very interested in Ted Bundy, who was, prolific and horrible
Forgiveness
to
for
women
Ted
and
Bundy.
forgiveness
Yeah.
for Ted Bundy, just horrible to women in general. Like all of these people kind of hold together this collective hatred for women and children and
Yeah.
people that they think should owe them something for some reason or some sort of inconvenience to them. And it's like, luckily, I think we're in a place where most men are more evolved now and aren't seeking to continue this. A lot of people have broken out of it more than in the 90s. They're trying to
You
bring
know,
them back now. Gen Z is like in their new cycle of like
that
being caught up in this again.
at the very least, we got to get off the Titanic first. So,
I know.
you know,
I do love being a woman. I'd be she, her so quick in a
then
fire.
I feel like a woman.
I would. They'd be like ladies first. I'd be like, that's me. She, her, lady. I'm not
Honestly,
trying to
well, the
push it up
thing
on the
is,
Titanic or anywhere else.
if you ask the people who we're talking about,
Yep.
you know, my point is, like, they don't, it is this, they believe that they are, immune. And that's why we're living in sort of like, the beginning of your Eastern European dictatorship, basically.
So I think people who have too much money start to seek the taboo. And that, comes in many forms. That comes in, wanting 85 wives. Some of the rich, Mormon folks that have the Warren Jeffs of the world are like, I want 85 wives and to control this entire control of people. I want this taboo. You see people seeking, child sex material. You see people doing a lot of drugs or like all the way up to like having rockets, right? So it's like when you
Yeah,
have too much money, you seek the taboo. You seek to own space or like own countries or
yeah,
own people. And it's like
right.
that's another reason for you to elect Zoran Mamdani as the socialist mayor of New York City so that people.
You know what's funny? It's like they warn about socialism. Donald Trump's the one who just sees the means of production of
He did.
intel. But
Exactly.
because
He did
they
real
want you
Stalin
to
socialism. Yeah.
right, they want you to fear communism, as in, like, they're promising you equality, but they're going to give you dictatorship. And it's like,
Mm.
you are the ones giving us dictatorship by doing the exact same thing, but minus the equality. Like, you're to then distribute it to their own people who help them and who are
Hmm.
in on this quest of,
Hmm.
like, your pedophile ring or your extortion or
Hmm.
whatever crazy thing it is. No, you're right. I agree that it is about this consumptive thing. And that's really what the Andrew stuff is that, like, he was like the trade representative for the UK because he could open
Didn't do
doors. And
anything.
I
Sure,
mean,
he didn't do anything. Yeah.
well, what he did was he made horrible impressions the world
Hmm.
over. He acted like a buffoon. He basically embarrassed constantly embarrassed the Brits, and they were like,
Sounds
"We
familiar. Who else is doing that right now?
very similar, very similar." And the thing is that, like, I actually think that between Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Donald Trump, that is how they like Russia took down the West.
Sure.
Andrew was, like, constantly being, like, found by spies. Like, there was a Russian spy who gave him a laptop with a listening device just to have, and he used it. Like, he was such a vulnerability to the and Trump in the same way.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think it's, like, fully appreciated the extent to which those 2 individuals, aided by the ring that Epstein was running. Because you have to remember, like, the Andrew and Trump were born into money.
Hmm.
Epstein was running an operation that assisted
Hmm.
multiple intelligence agencies.
Well,
So,
a lot of the girls he was getting were from, former USSR countries and whatnot. Yeah, there's a tie. These people, they're so annoyingly stupid. And now I'm wondering, you know how Trump the other day when the FIFA people were there, he like went into his little desk and pulled out his picture of Vladimir Putin. And he was
oh
like, he
boy.
sent this to me. Isn't this a great picture? He sent this to me. It was like a little trophy. What else did he send? I need to know. What else did Vladimir Putin send with that picture? Did he send a little statue? Did we check that statue for any kind of bugs? Like he was in the beast. That was crazy. Like what? He was
I think
so
we should just
desperate to
assume
be on a date with Putin. It was insanity.
I think we just have to assume that, like,
Yeah, we're
it's
compromised.
all
Totally.
it
We're a wrap.
is.
Yeah,
It is and it has been.
I
That's
know.
the thing. It's like we're 10 years behind reality here.
I
These
talked to John
they
Kirby after
compromised
he,
us with their
yeah,
bad behavior.
I talked to Kirby after he left office because I got to have a
You
good
were
relationship with him. And I'm like, Kirby, remember when they would like absolutely pat me down before I would see you to ensure that there wasn't any kind of like thing and I had to have like a chaperone to like even talk to you or anything? He's like, yeah. And then the next day, he's like, I literally saw him like the day before he left office. He's like, so that day, how many security points did you go through? How many times did they take your phone away? Check your glasses, check your shoes, check your hair, check everything before you came in the skiff. He's like, and the next day, that man moves in and is like, it's all out the window. I'm like, I know. It's so maddening to me.
Did you hear that that Ghislaine wanted to give the Biden administration offered dirt on Donald Trump for the
See,
election?
I'm gonna say,
They didn't engage.
If I ever see Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. again, who I care about, he's a nice man, I'd be like, boy, why'd you have to be so like on the up and up? Like,
Well,
don't be.
what
What
could
is
he
your
even
benefit?
well, the thing is, what could he even like, I
What
don't
does she
even
has to
think he
offer?
was
Everybody knew he was a adjudicated rapist, and they voted for him anyway. What more was she gonna say?
well, he thought he could win as is, so I don't think
Yeah,
he thought he
true.
needed it. I also don't even think it would've hit
No,
the same
no.
because it would have been like, "Oh,
Oh,
he's
we're
going
yeah.
after him." And
Yep,
also,
swinging.
she could then use that as blackmail on Biden. Like, I think it's good that he didn't, because like, I don't think it would have changed anything. It's very much like first impeachment vibes, but
Sure. What are
anyway.
they gonna do with her, huh? What are they gonna do with
I
her?
think
She's in
she's
that
going
prison
to
in
be
Texas.
I think she's gonna, like, be released in a few months
I agree. I
because
think so. I wonder if they'll
yeah,
release her to the UK and try to make it their problem. Like, is because I've tried to think of how he would
that might
message
put
it.
her in more danger,
Well, that's what I'm hoping for, is that they do put her to the UK because they're
but
a
she
little
wouldn't wanna go.
stricter. No, I know, but they're more strict on how they, like, treat people like this. So it's like they could say, "Oh, we're deporting any foreign-born criminal," like they're doing now. They're like, "Ooh, all the criminals are getting deported. She's getting deported."
No.
That's how I think they'll probably get her out. They're not gonna give her a pardon because that's gonna look bad. They're gonna say, "Oh, she was deported," or some shit.
I can see them, like, trying to foist her off on someone on
Sure.
maybe
On these third
Israel?
countries. Maybe she'll get a
Israel?
hookup in Uganda. I don't
Wait,
know. Israel?
Israel.
Oh,
That's
she could. She
maybe.
could get sent there.
I mean, I don't see her
They could do a
wanting
prisoner swap
to
for
go
that
west.
American teenager that Israel's been holding all this time too, maybe. I don't know. They'll try to make it look good.
I I can see them definitely, like, it's
You're
really
probably right.
I don't think she will stay in jail for
No,
another full year. Talk to
no
us in a
way.
year. I don't think she'll be there.
No way, because they're already saying that she's being threatened in this jail and it's dangerous for her in this jail. They moved a woman who spoke to the
I
press
saw.
somehow. Yeah, they moved her to a maximum security prison that she didn't, need to go to because she spoke out against Ghislaine. And they're like, oh, she threatened Ghislaine. Too bad. I do love that she said Epstein didn't kill himself because I think that we all know that. Epstein is not a suicidal person. This is not a person who kills himself. He thought he was
No,
getting out. He got out last
yeah,
time. Why wouldn't he think he was getting out?
it says that in the book also. That it alludes to it literally says that, like, he thought he was getting out. There are so many come on.
Do you think
Honestly,
it's
it's
like prison justice thing though? Like some guard just decided he was going to get his ass. I don't
no,
think so. I don't
no,
think
the
so.
guards were all asleep the same 3 hours. I think that it was, you know, okay, similar question. How did Jean-Luc Brunel end up hung in jail in France? Like,
Hmm.
was it could have been, it's not necessarily that, like, the administration had to do it. They just
No,
had to
so
let
was
someone
someone.
else in.
Yeah, the elite circle did it. This is the thing when people are like, "Oh, the Democrats are a cabal of pedophiles," and it's like, no, actually, the
No,
Republicans are. No, actually, they both are at the
it's
elite
like
level.
they
Like they all fucking
evenly
do this weird shit.
distributed.
Yeah. Stop with the
Although,
partisanness. Once you reach
no,
a certain level, those men seek taboo, and that is dangerous. That's the problem with it.
unless look, it's not like every single person who's old was part of this,
I'm not
but
saying old, I'm
so
saying a
many
particular type
killer
of
type.
elite. A
Yeah,
particular type of elite that seeks power and control and this weirdness and public profile and celebrity.
yeah.
That type of person is all the same.
There is so much that they don't want, so much, and so many people who don't want this out there
Yeah.
that you basically like it.
How
That's
would you? If
why I
they own
think
the
it's going to stay
newspapers, they own
suppressed.
the whatever. Yeah.
Where are the hackers? Where are the
Come on,
hackers?
Anonymous. Come on, Anonymous. What? We
MI
need you.
sick? Look, the UK has. This is what I was going to say earlier. The UK has so much documentation too. Let's Brits get
Come
on
on.
your government.
I know.
Although, well,
Well,
the
now that
thing
the
is,
queen is dead, maybe they would. I'm sure she
Charles
had
as
some sort of
William
power over it.
fucking hates Harry hates him even more.
Yo, once Will gets in, I feel like there's going to be all kinds of changes.
I
Will's going to
actually think
light the
William,
palace on fire and be like,
if
we're done with this.
if William released the Epstein, if William, like, did this, he would actually, I think, save the monarchy another generation or
He'd
two.
be
Because
great. Yeah. Yeah.
William,
Billy,
if you can
if
hear
you can
us,
hear us, we need you.
please, we need those 33,000 documents.
He could do it, man. He would, and people would love him for that. And
William,
isn't
that would,
that what we need? Isn't that what Princess Diana's son deserves? To be
yeah.
loved.
Maybe he and Harry could, like, reunite.
Hey,
Maybe
this
he's
could bring them back together. Yeah.
because also, and they hate Andrew. They both really hate Andrew.
Well, he's
Everyone
kind
hates
of a
Andrew.
jerk, isn't he?
He's
He's got like a
oh,
bad attitude. He's cranky. He's not even cool. Like he's not
he's
a
like a
cool royal.
real shithead. Like, I
Why
can't
not
describe the number
Princess
of meetings.
Anne? Why not Princess Anne get his ass? Isn't that your
She's
brother?
an institutionalist. She's not
That's
going to do
true, I
anything.
guess.
She can't do anything. Charles wants to throw Andrew out of Royal Lodge, but
Where he
instead
lives with
Andrew's living in
Fergie
it.
still. They're
Yeah,
divorced to each other, but not from each other, as she said.
yeah. He's living there and it's falling apart because I mean,
He
I don't
won't, yeah,
believe that
invest.
he, look, I don't believe that Andrew has, like, stopped doing anything. There's no
No,
chance he's just,
no
like,
way.
done.
No, there's no way. There's
Where's
no
the
way.
reporters looking into that? Although he does, you know, I believe that if Ghislaine Maxwell were let out of jail, like, it would all resume as it was.
Oh, sure. First of all, it's going on in some form now, right? It might not be as in society and in New York, right, as the Epstein ring was, but the legacy and history of young women being exploited and like old men being gross is tale as old as time, and it's never going to end. I think Epstein was really like, you know, pedophile very close to the sun in the way that he had a ring that was so expansive. It involves so many major institutions from the Interlochen School in Michigan, that really prestigious classical music school, to Juilliard, these places of like untouchable
Harvard.
American precedents, like Harvard, right? I don't know that anybody's like that connected, but this shit happens on every level.
My sense
And
is
yeah,
that, yeah, I mean, I also think he was granted protection because of his national security or not national security, like intelligence connections and how much
mhm. Of
blackmail he had on everybody, which it says multiple times in this book. Epstein had said he has things on
course he
people. He
does.
likes to have things on people.
Of
So
course.
he, that doesn't just go away. It's still there. I don't, maybe
Those
it's not
people
like
still
he
have
runs
that
an operation.
money and those appetites. They still have that kink. They still have that desire for that product. And if
Maybe
they
it's just,
hadn't gotten caught, they're just getting it a different way. I also
right.
think that
Less,
the 90s and early 2000s, they were really getting away with it in public because there were no cell
yes.
phones. There was no there wasn't citizen journalism the way that there is now. It was like TMZ and Perez Hilton, who were very happy to just talk about the celebrities at the parties and how beautiful everyone was. They weren't
And
looking
no
into like how
standard.
gross it was and no standard, right?
No
There
standard.
were
Like the idea,
cameras. Yeah.
there's like this idea that I think they convince themselves that like if someone looks mature and they're even if they're under 18, it's like okay. Oh, they're not a pedophile because they're not a child.
It
So
was
that's like the Alan Dershowitz argument,
so normal. When I was
which is
17, I had a 24-year-old boyfriend. Cool Among Us didn't. Now, I was a gay, so I never did anything with this man. He definitely really missed out and picked the wrong 17-year-old for whatever he was looking for. But it was so normal for millennials to be like, oh, yeah, well, boys mature less quick than us. Girls are just so mature. Like, we were told the most absurd things from our churches, from our fashion influencers, from the magazines that they read. Why was there a teen Cosmo?
I mean, you could have what was in the Teen Cosmo
How to give a
and the
blowjob.
ads. That's why. What
How to give a blowjob was
was
in
that
the
in
teen.
Teen
I
Cosmo?
don't know. It was in whatever my friends were reading. And I was like,
Probably Cosmo.
I knew I was gay very
Maybe.
early because I was not interested in the magazines. I was very interested
I
in
mean,
Real Simple,
sometimes,
though. That's a wonderful magazine. We need more Real Simple ads out there. They still make
yeah.
it. That's a good, proper magazine. Outside of that, I don't think we should have them.
I mean, you're always going to have sick fucks and
Yeah.
people who just like can't be satisfied.
I'm glad now that Gen X and millennial parents, though, at least are like, hey, we were put into adult worlds way more than we should have been. There weren't
Well, now they're
spaces for
not
children.
ever put into adult world, but
Well,
there
they
has to
never.
be a happy medium.
We're talking, so I'm writing that book, and this is one of the chapters has to do with children and like childhood and the problems of it. And like in our life, there were still third spaces for children to exist. Like
Hmm.
going to the mall
The
was,
park.
other than the modeling recruiters, pretty safe. It was okay. You could go and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
You could go roller skating. You could go to Discovery Zone.
The
You could go to
movie,
different coffee shops, to the movies by yourself. There were places you could go
the
and
Dunkin'
a
Donuts.
playground. I used to Dunkin' Donuts parking lots. Like there were places you could
You could
go
walk
and you
around
were
the block,
tolerated. You
go
were
in your neighborhood.
tolerated as a youth in some
Mhm.
form, and that really doesn't exist now. Like even signs on like the Panera Bread in my neighborhood, because it's really close to the high school, say if you need to be accompanied if you're under 17. And I'm like, you can't even like go get a soda or whatever
That's
they have. I
weird.
don't know. I don't go to Panera, an electric lemonade after school anymore. Like they're like, you can't come in here. We don't want the high school kids in here. And I'm like, maybe maybe they're loud or something, but like
Sure. But are
you
they
have to let them
worried about
exist.
liability or they
Yeah,
just
you
like
have to
don't
let
want
them
to
exist. But we
also
used to
like there's
exist.
yeah, I mean, is that cuz like I wonder why? I mean, I know there's
Mhm.
all of this backlash against like kids going to sleepovers ever.
I
And
was never allowed to go to sleepovers.
really?
No, and not even summer camp. My mother, when I went to summer camp, Girl Scout camp one year, because I begged her to go, we got a hotel and I would go to summer camp until it was time to go to bed. Then I would go to the hotel with her. Then she would bring me back in the morning.
Oh my god,
The only
why?
house I ever slept over in my entire life was my mother's mother. I never, ever, ever went to a sleepover. Never. One
Wow, I
time
had
I
like a
stayed at
lot
a
of
party too late.
sleepovers.
It was like 9:30 and it was
Oh my
already
god.
getting too much for me, and I called her to come and pick me up, and she was like, "You have to learn how to get along with people at night." Because as soon as it got dark, I wanted to go
Oh,
home.
you didn't want to.
No,
Oh.
because I grew up, and by the time I got to high school, I had never slept over somebody's house, so I was like scared of it. So it got dark, and I friggin' walked home. I walked like 4 miles home because I
That's
didn't
more
want to be
dangerous.
there. I know she
Wait,
was
so
furious.
what about college? Like,
No, okay, so let's talk about college too. When my mom dropped me off at college, she stayed at a hotel for like a week nearby because I was so like culture shocked by the idea of being at college. I
Oh my
could
gosh.
not handle it. Did not do well. I went home almost every weekend. I cried every night. I hated it. So I think, look, maybe let your kids have a little bit of sleepover
Yeah.
time. But no, I got
Well,
better,
I went
but
to
it was
sleepaway
not good
camp.
for me. No,
I went to sleepaway camp and had a lot of sleepovers. So by the time I went to
no.
college, it was like that was like not the big deal.
People could sleep in my house because my mom
Yeah.
was like awake all night and like knew what was going on. But no, I never even slept over that I can think of really like my other grandma's house. No, my mom was super strict about it. She
Well,
just
the
was.
reason people do
Well,
won't like
I
allow
don't
it
trust them
now is because
now.
I mean, I think there's just like a lack of trust in general, but
There is
that's a different.
also two
People are
parents.
crazier.
People are crazier. The access to danger, I think, is a little bit higher now with like internet stuff and drugs will kill you, like fentanyl. Boom. You can't do drugs
Right.
for fun anymore. Um,
I mean, you
and
can do like
and both
marijuana.
parents work. You could probably smoke weed, although I smoked weed one time and it was laced with like something and I got very sick. So I don't know. Yeah,
You
that was like a one timer.
never
Staten
had
Island was
those.
rough. But you can't like go to a party and do a bump. You'll die of fentanyl. Like
No, that
there
really
aren't
might.
drugs anywhere. You really
There
can't
are
like go to a
testing
rave
drugs
and
and
like
there's Narcan.
take a Molly from somebody and it's gonna be fine. Like you
You have to
can't.
test it. You have to
Well,
test.
yeah, I know. I
So
interviewed these girls one time who talked about fentanyl testing strips they keep in their purse, and I was like, okay, good,
that's responsible drug use.
good, yeah,
Well,
good.
I mean, we are so far afield from the topic, but yeah,
We're just
I
talking about
think
our
it's.
childhood traumas.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about like in middle school. I don't think they were like doing drugs.
No, no, no. But you know what? I don't. Do they still do like pranks? Because I was also very afraid of that.
Probably. I
I
don't
had a
know.
girl shave my eyebrow at a sleepover. I didn't even
That's
sleep
cruel.
over. Ugh,
That sounds
I didn't
like
even.
Prince Andrew would
Her
do
name was
that.
Leanne, and I was in second grade, and we were in gymnastics together. And she shaved like the side of my eyebrow, but I didn't even sleep over. It was like in the day, and
That's
I was
really
like,
mean.
I don't trust these bitches.
That's really
So
mean.
I never did.
Yeah.
But back to there are no spaces for kids anymore. It's not like, oh, go walk to whatever, or I'll drop you off to roller skating, or I'll drop you off to the mall. People don't have the money. My mom used to be able to like give me 20, $40 to go to the mall, and like you could do a lot with
Oh,
that in the 90s.
$20. I was like, wow, I've never,
$20
I'm
was a
so
lot
rich.
in the 90s,
Yeah.
that was like lunch and like a little treat from Claire's or
Like the whole
something.
week.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. And so it was like, you could do stuff like that. Now, because there are no spaces for children, you see things like adults taking infants to breweries, right? And then people
Oh,
complaining
yeah.
that, oh, the breweries are overrun by children playing, all these things. But it's because like there's
Yeah,
no
there's
separation
nowhere.
between the parent and the child anymore, where it's like safe. People feel safe separating them, so they're trying to put children in adult spaces in a different way. And I don't
Yeah.
know that that's what
It's
anybody is
also
really
like,
happy with either.
it's also like people are more distant from their families. So it's like, who's
Yep.
going to watch the kids when you go
Right.
out and you go with a group of friends? Like, who has the time to like
Yeah.
arrange all of that? And also, it's like this low trust where it's like, okay, your kids, you can't trust that your kids would be okay.
Or that they're not going to get
Or
sued.
know
Do you
people
know how
or
many?
right, like the
Or they're
liability
gonna get hurt on
arrested.
a playground, or they're gonna hit another kid or bite them, and now we're in like $100,000 lawsuit instead of like, oh, your kid bit somebody. That's don't bite, like But it happens. Like accidents happen, but they're so afraid of other kids. Yeah, I think it is this family breakdown thing. Yeah, because I grew up like with our cousins and whoever was on our street.
It's a community
Yeah,
breakdown.
I
It's
know. My
like
sister
everybody.
is having her second child now, and she's like, I was told there would be a village. Will we be getting that village on the second kid? Like, where is the village?
What?
I'm like,
It's
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 me,
like the
Jen, and I
village
live
has to
6 years
exist
away.
first.
I live
Right.
7 hours away. I'm the village.
Right. The village has to pre-exist the baby.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. The pendulum swings so far. Maybe it's coming back the other way, but I do
I
worry
have to have
about Gen
hope.
Z parenting and like how, because they'll be having kids if they're not already now. Some of them are in their early 20s, right?
I have to have
Doing
hope.
the trad wife
Forget
thing. Yeah.
look, they're still minds can change. I have to have hope that like once these sickos die
Yeah.
off or get in trouble or whatever, like we could fix this. We can turn this around. We can
You have to.
maybe figure it out. Like, because I do think our generation is more just
Certainly more
like,
empathetic and understanding of
yeah,
like,
with it,
that was not
like
okay.
fix it,
Yeah.
and empathetic and like more accepting of, different
We grew up
different
with a lot of
people understand you have to
anti-bullying.
collaborate. What?
We grew up with a lot of anti-bullying PSAs that were like, always stick up for the person who's not getting, their due.
And like celebrating differences. I know they definitely minimize like the realities of slavery for us, for sure. But
And
like,
Christopher Columbus was good and all that, but we've had a long enough amount of time
but
now to
we,
learn that. Yeah,
yeah,
to
I think
learn
we
what
did
was wrong.
okay compared to
Yeah.
everybody else.
Well, we had the chance to learn because I remember when I went to college, then I learned like genuinely about what happened. One
Right.
of my
Real
first internships was
college.
at like the Museum of African American History in New York, and it was like, okay, then you're like, what? Like, but you learn, you have the opportunity now. They want to take that away too. I want to make a hard turn in our last couple minutes here because I want to get
Yeah.
your hot take on something pop culturally that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see anything about the Betty Who drama? Do you know who Betty
No.
Who is? Okay.
Yeah.
Betty Who is a performer who has identified herself as a queer person for her entire career to the point that I would say the majority of her
I
career
didn't know
really
that.
hinges on her being queer. She's
I
performed
didn't
at
know
queer
that. I only know
events.
one song.
Yeah.
I love you
I love you
always,
always,
forever.
forever.
Yeah. I
So
fucking love that song.
it's a good song. So she has built her entire career on being a queer person performing at Pride. She is
Okay.
like, I am queer, right? Turns out she met her husband in 2014 when she was 21 years old, and she married him in 2017, and she's been with him all this time. And so she was on a podcast recently, and she's still been queer this whole time she had a husband because bisexual women can have husbands. Like,
Right.
no big
Right.
deal, of
I'm
course.
assuming that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's never been a problem. And then she goes on this podcast like this week, and this is like the hot take from everyone. And
Mm.
she's like, look, I mean, I was forced at 21 years old to identify as a lesbian or else by the alphabet mafia. And if you ever change your mind, or, I met a boy, I fell in love with him, I'm obsessed with him, and it's like illegal to be straight once you've identified as like any form of queer. And I'm like, are you talking to? Like, what are you saying? And so she's getting in a lot of trouble right now because one, in the follow-up to JoJo Siwa saying that
Yeah.
she felt forced to be called a lesbian. I can promise you, as the leader of the lesbian coalition, we did not force her. And we did not necessarily want her. And then Fletcher saying that she has a boyfriend during Pride Month, which the way she said it, people said they didn't like. And now Betty who's been married to her husband for, almost 10 years now and been with him for over 10 years, now coming out and trying to make it seem like there is a alphabet mafia, or that you will be in trouble if you decide to switch what letter you identify with, is like cruel, weird, and very tratty in a way that I'm like, Betty Who, are you making a right-wing turn? She says that she became bisexual because Katy Perry told her it would be good for her career. So like that
Well,
Katy
why would,
Perry inspired her to do it.
okay.
Because
So
Katy
like
Perry did that too.
here's the thing. It's like, okay. So, okay. If
So
she
now
said
are
that,
we,
that's,
yes. So
I
now
mean, to
are
me,
we
that's just like you're
turning
admitting that it wasn't the
that it
alphabet
wasn't
mafia, that it
real?
was Katy Perry.
It was Katy
Yeah.
Perry who, in the mid 20, right around the time of gay marriage equality, became very popular, to be open about who you were because you could be. Not because people were
Right.
faking it, but you saw a lot more people come out because it became possible. And you saw this as like your opportunity to like be trendy, I guess. And now what's trendy is like trad wife right wing stuff. So I'm like, how many more people are we gonna? Is there
Maybe,
something going on here? I'm like
I mean, I don't,
investigating this.
as a straight, I don't
Is it
feel
straight?
comfortable like, you know, kind of
Yeah.
aside. And I also know nothing
I think
about
of
like,
you as
I
at
didn't even
least
know
a
I didn't
queerish.
know she identified as queer ever. So like, I feel like I can't really pass a judgment, but I don't think you're wrong that there has been,
There's
that
like a
there,
thing going on.
but the thing is, it's like, okay, so are you going to later admit that the trad mafia made you feel like you couldn't be who you were?
Yeah,
It's like,
I'm like, are we going to be Christian singers again? That's where
but
Katy
it's,
Perry came from. Is
well,
this?
that's probably more authentic to her, in my opinion, than
I
the
think so.
other
I mean,
stuff
she's
was.
all up there with Jeff Bezos and whatnot. I'm like, do you, girl?
I don't know. I think Jeff Bezos is not authentic to this situation. Like, I think he's having a midlife crisis. But with her, I think, like, I don't know. One reason I can't really speculate is because I'm not in these people's like DMs. I don't know what kind of threats or comments they're getting, or even how they may feel. Like, maybe she did feel like, or maybe she felt like maybe I am taking advantage of this label
Yeah.
because I'm not like, I haven't
She's
really
not
been
getting work
attracted to a
otherwise.
woman in so long. And,
Well, she's
maybe
never
she was
dated a
like,
woman. No,
but maybe
she's
she was
never,
like, oh,
yeah.
I've had attractions to women. And that's why she
Everybody thinks girls
identified.
are pretty. Every single person thinks
Look,
girls are pretty and
again,
falls in love with their best friend once.
I am
Everybody
taught.
does
So
this.
maybe that's right, but maybe it's like a lack of I see it as like,
Understanding that?
okay, on
Sure.
a spectrum. Like I know people like are opposed to that, but I do feel like if within like there's a lot of room within bisexuality.
Yeah.
And if you like never really like if you
Like
don't
acted
feel
on
like
it
you're
doesn't
hiding
matter.
something
Yeah.
by like by not being open about the moments you felt attracted to a woman, like I don't think that maybe I think maybe you might take advantage of the trend by identifying as queer.
Hmm.
And so when like whatever, maybe you get threats or whatever, or you just feel like I don't know, maybe she has some more nefarious reasons. Then you're like, okay, well, I'm not really queer. Like I felt like I should just say that. I don't know.
I
But
don't
yes,
know,
I
but I'm
do
like,
think it
don't
is
blame
not
me and the
good.
gays for
Right.
what you
Right.
misinterpreted in your own feelings. Like,
Right,
leave us
right, that
alone.
too, right. I think the problem is that, like, you're trying to blame it on someone else when I mean, it sounds to me like she's blaming it on Katy Perry, like, it's not your okay, so if someone had said to me, like, back in 2014, "You should come out as queer, like, because it's good for your career," I'd be like, "But if I wasn't, I wouldn't be
I
like."
wouldn't do that. Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't really get it, like,
I don't
I don't
get it.
know.
I don't think she was good in Hades Town, so I'm willing to hate on her.
I didn't even know
And
she was in that.
she was terrible. Here's the thing. So somebody made a comment, and this really like helped me triangulate my feelings
Mhm,
into words.
mhm.
And they said the problem with like her or Jojo Siwa, in particular those two, is
Mhm.
that they wanted the aesthetic and the community of queerness
Yeah,
while maintaining the privilege of
of
being in a white,
straightness.
cis, straight relationship,
I
the
think you're
privilege
right.
and protections of that. And I was like, wow,
That sounds right
and
to me.
that sounds right to me. And that sounds like something that probably happens. And then, some folks will be like, under the desk news doing bi erasure. I was like, I assure you not. But some people we have to recognize come into communities and they misappropriate their
She's erasing
belonging
her
there.
own bi-ness. They're erasing
Right.
it.
They're, they sort of like ruin it for themselves because then they turn on it. So then, no, you don't get to be in the community anymore.
There's also a way of saying it, like, if, if you could maybe say, "Oh, yeah, I don't think I'm queer anymore," but
Be
not in
in
a
on the
way
joke, though.
that
Be in
throws
on the
people under
joke.
the
Yeah.
community. Like,
Right.
that honestly, like, so much of what people do that we all take offense to and find, like, disturbing. I don't mean like,
Yeah.
really extreme stuff. I think it just comes from like people maybe not like knowing themselves and they don't know how to like express themselves in public and make, I don't know, a balance between who they are versus like who they think they should be projecting. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't know enough about her situation or even JoJo Siwa, as you know. But
JoJo Siwa, I kind of give a
JoJo
pass
Siwa's
to
more
because
of
that
like a
kid's been
performer.
abused since she was a kid. She's been commodified since before she was even knew what commodity was. So you can't really like
Agree.
expect much from JoJo in terms of like we hope she grows and learns, but you can't expect much for the life that this person has had. If you could even call it a life, she's been a product since she was born, and that's hard. So
She
her
seems
alone, I'm
like
like
she
whatever.
doesn't even
But
know.
Betty
Like
Who's
I
had
think
like enough
she's
time to
lost.
learn as an adult. And I'm
I
like,
think
be
she's
in on the
lost.
joke. Be like, yes, some of you probably don't know that I have a husband. I know, typical bisexual with
Right.
a husband, whatever. I love him and I think girls are pretty. And everyone would have been fine.
But you can say that because you can say, "Oh, that's what I would have done," because you have that, like, worked out.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm
It is
guessing is that she doesn't. I don't know, maybe someone told her to do this, like, maybe I really don't know. I don't like, I
I don't
can't
know.
point to the circumstances,
We'll have
but
to see if she makes a right-wing trad wife turn though,
I think
because if
it's
she is
yeah,
just trend chasing, then
that sucks.
you'll just maintain this sort of like mediocre level of, you know, surface. Maybe you'll
Right,
get
and
to, I don't know, sing for
all I'll
Donald
ever
Trump
know,
next time or something. I don't know.
and I will never learn more than "I love you always forever."
That's it. That was the one good one.
I like that song. I didn't know anything about her otherwise.
Now I
It
know.
could have been a DJ to me. Like,
I know. I
it's,
was just bringing
you
you
know,
gay drama for your Monday because,
no, I appreciate that.
we need to know.
I did have like other drama I wanted to discuss, but
I know.
it's escaping me now.
Well, we'll have to
But this
hop
has
back
been
on.
fun. We will. Once we have more, our next like little
Yeah.
scandal of interest.
Well, Trump is going to ban this. Jed just sent me this that Trump and RFK Jr. plan to ban the COVID-19 vaccine within the next few months. So,
Cool. Cool.
I don't know.
We could have cured cancer literally in the next like 5 years, I bet.
There's so many things.
There's
Ooh,
so
are you
many
going to see
things.
Kamala on the book tour?
Oh, I didn't think
I
about that.
know. She's going to be in New York on September 24th. I think her tickets are sold out for the New York show, but I would love to. I'm so interested in the book. I'm so interested in knowing what her side of the 107 days was, because for us, it was
I'm
like
curious. I wonder,
crazy.
I doubt it's going to be like hot. You know what I
No,
mean?
I
I
don't
bet
think
it's
it'll
going to
be
be
hot, but
very,
I do want to know like what her feelings were during it because
yes.
I mean, I had like a terrible time campaigning for Kamala. It was the best summer of my life and I met people that I love, but I was also stressed out every
Excellent.
day, lost hair, gained 35 pounds, like had a really hard time. And I wasn't even the candidate. I really want to know what it was like for her in those 107 days.
I'll be honest, like, I think the beginning was great and the end.
Brat Summer was phenomenal.
The what after the DNC, once they fucking brought out Leon Panetta,
Uh, they
that was
didn't have
it. That was the
Beyonce.
end.
It was the
That
end.
was the end.
That was the
That was
end.
when it all just
I agree.
wind
I think
out of
that
the
was the
sail.
end. The DNC was the end because
The more
just
memeable,
the
the more
forced establishment in that week. Ugh, it was
the
over. They
more
killed the vibe.
memeable candidate wins. And
Yeah.
she was that until she started giving the same speech over and over again. And
They
they
were
brought Leon Panetta instead of Beyonce.
correct.
Who would ever want the special guest to be Leon Panetta? Who is Leon Panetta?
No,
I know
no
who
one
he is,
knows.
but
And
no one
they
asked.
didn't let Ruah Roman speak either. The Palestinian elected
I
from
bet
Georgia.
you.
I think it was a huge deal to not
Do
have
you
her.
think, what percentage of Americans do you think know who Leon Panetta is?
10?
Four?
10? Less
Four.
than 10?
Four.
Yeah, 4.
Four. Four.
Not when you're expecting Beyonce. Yeah.
Never. You could
Nope.
be expecting Kamala Harris and you put Leon Panetta. Like, okay.
They blew it. It
The
was a goodbye to
Democrats?
Biden establishment consultant
Ted
circle jerk. It
Martin.
was terrible. Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
They
cool.
gotta
We'll
go.
see you guys next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
This is fun.